Geology. Geology? Geology! But first, some meditation. Geology! 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 And first, some meditation. Again. Good morning from KPFT, Montrose, Houston, Texas. Good morning with Gustavo Dudamel here, helping us with some meditation, yeah? Oh, yes. Here we go. Another program about mini geology, another program where we are going to show the relationship between this beautiful discipline and our great society. This is Daniel Minizini, and I welcome you to this incredible old medium that is the radio. And the radio is here for you. I read lately a book by Marshall McLuhan. He wrote it in 1969. And you know what McLuhan says? It states something like this. The light bulb, the light bulbs that you have all around your houses is a medium without any content. In fact, a light bulb creates an environment by its mere presence. It enables people to create spaces during nighttime that would otherwise be enveloped in darkness. It doesn't matter if used for brain surgery or night football or night baseball. It doesn't really matter because the light bulb is the medium. And the medium is the message, is the importance of this new tool that changes the life and the behaviors of all of us. Just the light bulb. See this beautiful image. Just think about the Bedouin in the desert with his battery radio on a camel. Doesn't matter what the radio waves communicate. It matters now that with this new medium, the Bedouin is always informed now. Or think about this other creepy concept. Talking about crimes over dinner. The most important thing is not the crime itself, the details of the crime or the killer or the victim, but the change of perception of the crime. It becomes more common thing now when we talk over dinner. And it's talking about that topic over dinner that is the important thing. So also mini geology is a medium. This is mini geology. This is a project that tries to reach out to all our geoscientist communities and touching base with a great society. This is also a medium that enables you, that you are listening right now, to think about the link between geology and society. And I tried to put content in this show. I obviously tried to do it. I interview great geologists. I choose hot topics that you may be interested in. I try to find out the details and the technicalities to explain you how some processes work. But I am well aware that you'll forget it in a matter of minutes. So it is important what it remains, that feeling that you have when you listen to this show, more than the memory about the words that I say right now. The content of what I will say, it can be used in as many ways as possible, in as many ways as the numbers of you, listeners, who are one, diverse from each other, who are all doing different things in this very moment. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're drinking a cup of coffee, maybe you're in the elevator going up to the 62nd floor, who are creating personal images in your brain, derived from the words I'm spelling right now, who have different kinds of education, and who had different parents that taught you different associations of thoughts. So at the end of the day, if the content is not what it remains, if also this show is a medium without content, but still a medium, what I'm doing here? Well, you know what I'm doing here? I'm just inspiring you. Just inspiring you. I kind of light the candle and you use it for what you want. You can use it simply to find the way out to the bathroom or to the bedroom, or you can use it as Diogenes who look for an honest man. There are many things that you can do with this medium. Again, mini geology enables you to think about the link between geology and your daily life in society. Mini geology radio is against the culture of the PowerPoint. If I'm talking with the geoscience community, you are very aware what I mean by the PowerPoint culture. So it means that we are against this saturated culture of images. And I'm not talking just in our places where we work, in the places where we export our passion and showing it through images in a PowerPoint. Because there is no image of environment or sustainability, energy. What's the image of an ecosystem, like 52 arrows, slightly bended in a kind of a circle? There's no image of a market or justice. These are abstract concepts. So a trending line on a plot with some numbers is not enough to let people understand and become conscious of such concepts. Or as I said, arrows here and there. Plots and arrows are not enough. So we need to understand these concepts. In our case, we need to understand the environment where we live to improve our relationship with it. If we don't understand the environment, it could be catastrophic. I know I'm talking to an audience that is critic, so call us, criticize us. I believe that I am talking to listeners that they, in turn, they're going to transmit what they listening here, what they learning here, what they feeling here. They're going to transmit it to their dear friends, their students, their co-workers, their colleagues, in a sort of cascading effect. So call us at 713-526-8737. Call KPFT HD3 here in Houston. If you call from abroad, you add that +1, a big one, for this country, United States of America. And then you go and you dial 713 for this big city here in Texas, which is Houston. And then you dial 526 for this beautiful neighborhood, which is Montrose. And finally, you reach my studio, adding 8737. So write it down, 713-526-8737. KPFT HD3 channel. And while I'm waiting for your calls, and hopefully maybe in the very last half an hour, I'm gonna talk with you. Well, in the meanwhile, my dear real geologists, I'm here to remind you that once upon a time, geology was your lifeblood. Yes, even if you are now just clicking buttons and behind a screen, and even if you are closed in an office with air conditioning or the heater on, and you are sitting on a chair, well, I'll inject life into your veins. And for those who are still passionate, for those that they are still well alive and they still go and see rocks, well, I'm here to keep going that holy fire that you have inside. And I'm here to invite you to come in here to show to the others your passion and be inspirational. And use this medium, the radio, to talk to all of your brotherhood. So Mini Geology is the breeding ground for your passion for geology. Call us at 713-526-8737. And you know what I would like to do today? I would like to introduce you to a project developed by the Bureau of Economic Geology in Austin, Texas. The name is EarthDate, and you find it at earthdate.org. There are several clips that they explain geology in the relationship with our daily life. In this project, earthdate.org, the clips, they're audio, they're not video clips. So the person that is talking and move forward this idea is Scott Tinker. Scott Tinker, he is director of the Bureau of Economic Geology in Austin, Texas, and past president of the American Association of Petroleum Geologists. He has given more than hundreds, more maybe close to 1,000 invited lectures, building bridges between academia, industry, government, and the public. And lately, he was awarded with the Michael Halbuty Award for Outstanding Leadership by the AAPG. So I remember I met him long time ago. This was in his office in Austin. And I just arrived in here, knock at the door, maybe drop a line the day before, and he received me. And this is, I think, an interview that I made more than 7 years ago. So I'll try to recover it and show you who Scott Tinker is, where he talks about reaching out with simple messages. And several years later, like now, seven years later, he realized this project that is alive since a few months ago. Let's see if it works. Here we go with the interview.
Sit over there. Oh, you sit by me?
Here is okay.
You can sit there. I can talk to you that way.
Okay, great. You are one of the most interviewed geologists.
I speak to breakfast groups and civic clubs and learning for mature people and state government and federal government, NGOs. That's the most exciting because these are people who are really passionate about something, but they don't necessarily have all the information, good information. And if they get it, it's very complicated or complex. And I'm not a very smart guy. I like to think simply. And so I like talking in simple terms with people and bringing good information that's accurate but not too complicated. It's very important, I think, to bring a simple scientific message into those other realms so people can digest that. And then they can hopefully get past some of the bias they might have or lack of information and education. So I love bringing those things together, science into those various realms. I think it's exciting and people really appreciate when you do that. I think we all should do that. Take time and go visit your schools, whatever it is, wherever your passion lies, make sure to share that. Very important.
Yeah, share your passion. I'm really glad that he allowed me to interview him that day, because it allows me to show you this now. And here we go with another piece. About passion, you say that your passion is building bridges.
Yeah.
Okay, and these bridges are among academy, industry, government. What divides these entities?
Oh, that's a good question. And there's lots of different kinds of bridges, but that is a big one. We all work on different time frames. So in the academies, the universities, we tend to have a longer focus, a research focus. We can think about problems and we may work on them for decades. Not quite as driven by performance as, for example, the industry must be. Industry, tremendous talent, intelligence, but also by law, they have to maximize their shareholder value if it's a public company and make money to survive. So they're driven by performance, things that have to happen very quarterly and annually. So it's a different way to think a little bit. Governments work on a completely different time frame. They're sort of driven by the length of the next election. The elected official, the first prime directive almost is to get reelected. And to do that, you have to serve your constituency, the people that brought you there. And so they're always working on understanding what the public will is and trying to make sure that they work towards that. So it's a very different set of people and a very different set of circumstances. It's not easy to cross those bridges because the time frames for decision making are so different. But that makes it exciting. I think we're all, as long as you're willing to walk out across the bridge a little ways, cross part way and meet each other, things work. If you only stand back on your side and the other person has to come all the way over to you. There's other bridges too, bridges in energy, trying to get from today's energy to tomorrow's energy. Different ages of people. We all, different generations. There's 3 different generations that work now in these different groups. And we weren't raised the same. We had different cultural, different educational, different economic circumstances as we grew up.
There are both intra and inter bridges.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. You saw how lucky we are to have Scott Tinker telling us what he was gonna do in the future while we were interviewing him in 2010. After that, Scott, he built up this project that ended up in a movie, Switch. Yes, Scott Tinker behind, and in front of the cameras for the switch of our energy system, and switch to a new energy system. He also developed this Earth Date project, and I'm gonna spend some time now showing you clips here and there, and trying to embrace and these clips in the concept of this medium that I was talking about, so that you can use your imagination thanks to this radio program and the clips that are going to reinforce that. So let's see what you think about it.
From the Bureau of Economic Geology, this is Earth Date. Remember the periodic table from high school? Neither do I. But about 3/4 of the elements are inside your smartphone from minerals mined all over the world. The glass on the front is a special hardened type. It's made of quartz, which may have come from the USA, and aluminum, which probably came from Australia. It's then treated with potassium salts, likely from Canada. For scratch resistance, it's given a coating made of iridium from South Korea and tin from Indonesia. The colors on the screen come from rare earth elements, mostly from China. Its microelectronics could include copper from Chile, silver from Mexico, platinum from South Africa, and tungsten from Russia. Its tiny capacitors use tantalum from Central Africa or Brazil. Your phone's rechargeable battery is made of lithium, which may have come from Argentina, cobalt from the Congo or Zambia, and pure graphite from India. Petroleum, from many sources around the world, is used to ship all these minerals to factories where they're assembled into parts, then shipped again to be assembled into phones. If supplies of any of these elements from any of these countries were to be restricted, it could disrupt the price and availability of the phones that billions of us rely on. There are also serious environmental impacts to mining these minerals. Recycling the billions of old phones will ensure we have materials available for new ones. I'm Scott Tinker, calling out to you on Earth Date.
Earth Date is produced by the Bureau of Economic Geology at the University of Texas at Austin. Earth Date is researched by Julie Hennings, written by Harry Lynch, and distributed by Mark Blunt and Casey Walker. For more stories, follow us on Facebook or visit earthdate.org.
Well, you listen to how many minerals are assembled into a smartphone. Just think about how many workers they are giving their labor to extract these materials, and how many families they are relying on the labor of those workers to survive or thrive. So the importance of geology is paramount. And here we certainly have to remember that there's a great idea behind the smartphone. Actually, I have to say the iPhone, which is a medium like the radio, is a new medium that is changing our lives, the way in which we talk, we write and communicate, the way in which we move, and maybe also the way in which we think, and why not the way in which we feel. So here we go with another piece, a piece that is gonna make you think again with your imagination, just through the audio of this radio program.
Imagine you're being chased by a T-Rex. What would you hear? Some very big footsteps, some very heavy breathing, someone screaming? Maybe that's you. What else? Scientists have been trying to determine what the prehistoric world sounded like by studying the sounds of modern animals. Sounds of aggression, like roars and screams. Sounds of communication, like birdsong or a wolf howl. Perhaps most amazing, echolocation, used by bats and whales to find prey and avoid obstacles. The organs required to make and hear these sounds had to evolve sometime. So scientists went looking for them in the fossil record, and here's what they found. For 90% of Earth's history, the only sounds were natural phenomena, like waves and thunder. That would have made little difference to early life forms because none of them could hear. Then, around 400 million years ago, crustaceans started making clicking sounds. Early fishes, looking for a meal, developed the ability to hear them. It took land animals a long time to catch up. But by 200 million years ago, insects were chirping, early birds were honking, and to track them, predators developed the tympanic eardrum. So what would you have heard from that tyrannosaur? Well, not much. He might have been able to huff or hiss, but with no vocal cords, he couldn't roar like in the movies. And he'd probably be too far behind you anyway. Turns out T-Rex may have been much slower than we thought. But that's a story for another Earth date. I'm Scott Tinker, sounding off.
Fascinating thinking about the sounds of the prehistoric animals. This is something that we never studied. We maybe think about how they look like, and we try to reproduce them in museums and in books. But what about their sounds? Yeah, as they said in the clip, in the movies, maybe the dinosaurs were roaring falsely because they didn't have the apparatus developed enough to roar. But it's fascinating to think about this. And what about the smell? Do we want to talk about the smell as well? How would the dinosaurs smell? Well, as the clip said, this is a topic for another story. I remember talking about sounds. That when I studied at school, they told us that in the evolution of man, we decide to have two kind of flows through our throat: air to breathe, and food to swallow and get energy. And then we develop a way to talk, risking to choke. But we decide that it was more important the communication than choking. So a little percentage of the Bushmen, they die probably choking before the genes that develop enough to have a species evolve to talk and breathe and eat. But just try not to do it all at the same time, okay? Here we go with another piece.
If you took a flight from New York to Beijing, for 1,400 miles of it, you'd be flying over mostly unmapped ocean. We don't know exactly how deep it is. We don't know the shape of the ocean floor. It's a mystery. In fact, we don't understand the vast majority of the seafloor. Our maps of the Moon, Mars, and even Venus are 50 times more detailed. Near the coasts and continental shelves, where waters are shallow and boat traffic is high, we've used sonar from ships to build high-resolution seafloor maps, but these cover just 10% of the ocean. The rest, with an average depth of 2.5 miles, is too deep for ordinary sonar, and too remote and dark for other types of visual mapping. So we've resorted to measuring the ocean's surface with satellites, then interpreting the seafloor from that. The best resolution we've been able to manage is a data point every 3 miles. Exactly what's happening between these points? We have little idea. And this is a bit of a problem. The contours of the seafloor shape the paths of tsunamis and the direction of major currents that shape our weather. When a cargo ship or a jetliner goes missing, we struggle to locate them. Who knows what we might discover with a better knowledge of the deep ocean? New minerals and resources, new life forms, things so new we can't even imagine them. I'm Scott Tinker, reminding you there are big things still to be discovered right here on Earth.
And now, just think about you have this special power of a superhero where you can see through water and you can see the shape and the size of the objects that make the landscape of the seafloor. This is something that we can do through some technology. And I think about it like knowing the unknown. It's kind of when we were looking at our hand before having the X-rays. We just saw our skin, and we just felt the bones, but we couldn't see them. Through the X-ray, we knew the unknown. It was a new vision of something that was not visible for us. We couldn't see our bones. So the same happens with the new technologies that show us the landscapes that are hidden by the water column. And down there are amazing landscapes. These landscapes, though, they don't have this vertical exaggeration that we see in the subaerial world, because they are formed in a different mean, which is water rather than air. And we still have mountain chains and field of sand waves, and also submarine rivers. Some of them meandering, like the last part of the Mississippi in Louisiana. And then we have canyons that they may be as wide and deep like the canyons that we see in the middle of our continent. And of course, slumps and slides and a lot of rain in the water column. And now that you are imagining this landscape, let's go to another topic.
Do you have a diamond ring on your finger? If so, take a second to look at it. A diamond is, without a doubt, your most ancient possession. Scientists have shown that gem-grade diamonds were created between 1 and 3.5 billion years ago. The diamond on your finger could be nearly as old as the Earth itself. Diamonds form deep within the planet, 100 miles down or more, underneath the continents. There, the pressure, temperature, and chemistry of the upper mantle create the perfect environment for diamonds at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So how do they get to the surface? Through ancient eruptions. Jets of mantle were propelled by expanding gas, some from 400 miles within the Earth, far deeper than modern-day volcanic eruptions. The eruptions blasted through these diamond zones and carried small quantities of diamonds up with them in shafts we now call kimberlite pipes. But less than 1% of the 6,000 pipes we've discovered have produced diamonds economically. All we see of the pipes today are their carrot-shaped roots, which is where we dig our most productive diamond mines. A smaller number of diamonds erode out of the pipes and end up in streams, beaches, and in undersea deposits. Offshore of Namibia, giant ships vacuum them from the seafloor. The ancient origins of this gemstone give a whole new meaning to the phrase, "a diamond is forever." Perhaps it's no coincidence that diamonds have come to represent everlasting love.
Oh, well. Yeah, diamonds are forever. Yeah, but we know that this is a marketing mantra formulated by De Beers. Still fascinating. The diamonds. Fascinating. Yes, they are. By the way, I have no diamonds in my fingers. They have all of them on my dear wife. That she knows I'm a terrible husband, but she has those diamonds on her fingers and somewhere else. Think about time. The deep time. There are very few professional figures that have in their head the concept of deep time. Maybe astronomers are the ones that they are at the level of geologists, but very, very few others, like philosophers and historians. They don't reach that kind of depth in the thought of deep time. And for this, you may certainly read something about James Hutton, the father of modern geology, and his concept of deep time. Actually, you can read something easier than his own writings. I remember Kenneth Taylor He wrote something around 2006 titled Ages in Chaos, and James Hutton in the Discovery of Deep Time. Instead, if you are more interested into the philosophical point of view of time, then certainly the Confessions of Saint Augustine, very few centuries after Christ, I think 4th or 5th century. And of course, Heidegger, if you want to follow the parabola from St. Augustine to Heidegger and traveling 15 centuries, then you find at the beginning of the 20th century Martin Heidegger with Being in Time, which is something that I still read and read again and read again, and every time I understand something different. Let's see now, what do we have next?
You've probably used GPS today in ways you don't even know about. Of course, your smartphone is a miracle of GPS navigation. It receives data from a network of 31 satellites orbiting 12,000 miles above us. At least 4 of them are visible from any place on Earth at any time. It uses that data to pinpoint your location to within 10 feet. It's pretty amazing. But there are many other ways that GPS impacts our lives. It helps airline pilots and ship captains stay on course. It helps taxis find their fares and military missions find their targets. And it plays important roles in bank transactions and power grids. In fact, because the GPS satellite network is even more stable than the shifting surface of the planet, scientists now use it to track continental plate movement. It shows that Australia moves as fast as fingernails grow, about 3 inches a year, while Hawaii holds the record, moving toward Japan at 4 inches a year. Geodetic surveys correct GPS coordinates for the shifting Earth and send updates to our devices on demand. And the whole thing is about to get more precise. The next generation of GPS will use both satellite and ground stations to be accurate to within 1 inch. We'll need it, as future technologies like driverless cars, delivery drones, and things we can't even yet imagine rely on GPS for increasing precision. I'm Scott Tinker, located precisely in Austin, and thanks for listening.
Earth Date is produced by the Bureau of Economic...
I'll play the last part of the clip later on in order not to be repetitive right now, but I certainly thank continuously the BEG, the Bureau of Economic Geology in Austin, for promoting this educational tool. So today is about education more than awareness, but it is also about inspiring you through the medium of the radio. And in fact, I'm so happy that the Scott Tinker decided to do these clips as audio clips instead of video clips, because they allow you to use the power of your imagination that is dormant there, in between your 2 ears, behind your 2 eyes. Eyes? Eyes is spelled differently, but you know which kind of eyes I mean. What I really like about this clip is, well, I didn't know that we have 31 satellites for the global positioning system. I didn't know there were 31. But I like the explanation of the change of point of view. So now we know that the satellites, they are so stable, they are so precise, that we decide to look at the Earth from outside of the Earth. So we don't look at our own bottom belly anymore. We look at ourselves and the continental plate movements through the satellites. This is, I think, an important change in the point of view. It's like when we decide that there was not an Earth-centric point of view, but a heliocentric point of view, moving from having the Earth in the middle of the universe to having the Sun in the middle of the universe. And that affected a lot the way in which our species thought, the way in which they our historians and our philosophers, they reshape the meaning of life. And just talking about points of view, it would be very interesting to think where do we place ourselves in the point of view? We look at ourselves a lot. That's very narcissist and very common in many of us. We think that we are the most important thing. But most important thing for what? Most important thing in the world? Most important thing for what? When we decide that, then we may understand if maybe our wife's point of view is more important, or maybe our family's point of view. Maybe we have to do an effort to try to understand these things. What is the point of view? If you put the point of view based on your employer, how does your life look like from there? Or from the policymaker's point of view? Or shouldn't we live our lives maybe thinking about ourselves like part of a species? Because right now, for instance, with all of this debate about global warming, which could be named also climate change, we are talking about the extinction of the Homo sapiens sapiens as we know it. So this could help also in changing point of view. I like this shifts and this kind of shocks. And of course, we didn't mention the point of view of our life from high above in the metaphysical world where we have God. So think about it. What is the most precise GPS according to you? Where is your place in this life?
If you didn't see the total eclipse on August 21st, 2017, you may be wondering, how did I miss it? It was supposed to be a total eclipse. Well, a total eclipse happens only when the moon passes perfectly in front of the sun, blocking its view from Earth. Because the moon is so much smaller than the sun, the path of totality, where the sun is completely obscured, is quite narrow. This may be easiest to imagine if you picture the view from space. You'd see a small moon shadow 70 miles wide cast upon the surface of Earth and moving across it at 1,500 miles an hour. That moon shadow crossed the U.S. from Oregon to South Carolina, passing over 50 million people who live there and several million more who traveled there to see it. And I was one of them. Here's what we saw. The moon shadow raced forward, eventually engulfing us. Darkness fell, the temperature dropped 10 degrees. Sunset descended on all horizons. Birds stopped chirping, and night insects began. It was an amazing, almost unnerving experience. Then, as quickly as it started, it was over, and the moon shadow raced on. Now, if I'm making you more disappointed that you missed it, don't be. 7 years from now, a total eclipse will return. Because of the orientation of the sun, moon, and earth, the path of totality will be wider, and it will cross from Texas to Maine. So set a reminder on your calendar for April 8th, 2024, and we'll remind you too on a future episode of Earth Date. I'm Scott Tinker.
Magical. I never saw one. I never experienced one. And think about it, before people, they really knew what was going on. Just think about it. I mean, you wake up, it's dawn, you are working in the fields, and all of a sudden, dark. Wow. Think about how many people got lost that day. And we had a lot of these eclipses per year. It's just that they're in different parts of the world. Something really magical. How many accidents they happen because of this phenomena, or the number of people that they were very scary because of that. Because obviously they didn't know what happened, and we are really scary when it is dark. We like light rather than dark. So I bet there were a lot of debates in the family. Hey, it was your fault. Well, what did you do? What's going on here? Who who did it? Well, and then maybe a lot of very interesting stories invented on the fly around a fire pit. I don't know, I think about it like in a cold place. All of a sudden, you don't even have the light of the sun warming you up, so you need to fire a fire and then narrate some of the histories you know and making it up there. A lot of writers probably got a lot of ideas in the old days. And maybe also military actions decided on this superstition. I know some of the military actions in the medieval times, they were taken just because some of the leaders and the generals, they saw very special birds flying above a couple of towers. So, but think above all, and this is really something documented, the political and religious parties in a broad sense, that how many times they took advantage of these eclipses, because they were the only source of information and they kept it secret and they used it to their benefit. So eclipses, very magical thing. Now I really like to play again the very last part of this 2-minute long clips to let you write down where you can find them and who produced them and who was involved in this beautiful project. So here we go.
Earth Date is produced by the Bureau of Economic Geology at the University of Texas at Austin. Earth Date is researched by Julie Hennings, written by Harry Lynch, and distributed by Mark Blunt and Casey Walker. For more stories, follow us on Facebook or visit earthdate.org.
From the Bureau of Economic...
All right. Here we are with Mini Geology and KPFT HD3 channel. Call us at 713-526-8737. And this is a Mini Geology radio show. You can write us at minigeology@gmail.com, minigeology@gmail.com, and you can follow our Twitter account and Facebook page, also at Mini Geology. And you can Google Mini Geology and Rice University to see something written down in words instead of video clips or audios. This is a place where we move from talking about the mindset of the great geologist to the relationship between geology and society. And we give voice to people on the top that they are leading our associations or universities or industries. But then we also dedicate time for the students and the unemployed and people that they don't really have a platform to let them voice be heard. So you're all very welcome in here in 419 Lovett Boulevard, 419 Lovett Boulevard in Houston, Texas, 77006. You can also write us. If for some reason you don't want to write an email, just write a letter. And I'll be glad to host you here. Knock at the door. Again, the address is the same. You come in here, downtown Houston, and you'll be treated loyally. And goodbye to everybody out there in this planet. Well, we thank Katie that she sent a message, and she said that she finally heard the entire show. She said it was fun, and that she was driving up north, so she couldn't call. Obviously, don't call if you're driving, or do it properly. And she said that she loved it. So thank you very much, Katie. This is what we need from all of you in the community, because we don't know what you think about it. We don't have that much feedback. So what we need is to build up a critical mass so that we redefine the program, we reshape together our mission, if you will, and we try to bring in here the people that you want to hear. This is here for you. There is no sponsor behind us. There is no message in between the lines. This is just me in here for what I represent, for my history, with my passion, and all the influences that you can have on myself in here when you write me a very short message like Katie did, or when you write me an email, or when you retweet something that I wrote, or when you invite me to a university to talk to students. These are things that they really show me what is our community a little bit more and more. And so we want to give voice to everybody here. Actually, we could have discordant voices at the same time in here. We have 2 mics, and so if you have concepts that they are shockingly crashing against other tribes, your tribe says one thing and another tribe said another thing, I want to bring here the chiefs of these 2 tribes and talk about that topic, and we will build a bridge. We will show to all our community that we are capable and mature to confront ourselves. And in Houston, we have all sort of communities. So this is open for all of you. Please, again, call us at 713-526-8737. Write at minigeology@gmail.com. Tweet or retweet and Facebook, and that's it. I don't think we have any other venues but this radio show at KPFT, High Definition Channel 3. All right, thank you. That's all for now. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you very much.